Ladies
But
and
it's
gentlemen,
fun.
welcome back to a fabulous episode of Stories Around Azeroth, as always with myself, Pete Tights Creed Nethercoat, and the fabulous gnome this side of the Eastern Kingdoms one, Mr. Frazley Tastic. This week we have the pleasure and the great honour to be joined by Gerissar of Technically PVP. How are you doing, sir?
I am well, thank you very much. It's a wonderfully sunny Sunday here where I'm living. So
Yeah, it's been pretty sunny and windy down here as well. It's been pretty fresh, is the way I'd like to say that the weather is.
fresh is good. It's
Fresh is definitely something.
yes, yeah. It was unseasonably cooler here for earlier last week, but now that it came into the weekend, it warmed right up, so I'm happy. And then, of course, today it's gray but bright. So I guess it's not as sunny as I first said, but it's still bright. As you can see, my window's open, so I'm trying to keep my glasses down so I don't glare.
Yeah, no, that sounds familiar. I love the BFA art that's on the wall behind you as well,
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yes.
as well as the original Warcraft cover. I think that is the Orc
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I years ago, I off of the Blizzard store, I bought a pack with a whole bunch of Blizzard art or WoW art, and it has the covers. Actually, it has like the art from pretty much every expansion up to, I want to say it was up to Warlords.
Was that when they were doing the what are they called? Because they didn't do just simple prints. They did the whole. It's where they stick out from the wall. I can't remember the actual word that they use for it.
No, these aren't the canvas ones.
Canvas ones,
These are just prints. But it was a pack and they're double sided, and there's I think about 48 of them or something like that. Yeah, it's quite a few.
I remember when they did the poster books, and I was tempted to just pick up two, just because they were all double sided. Just take them all out and just like get them all framed on, so I could have them all up.
That's exactly
That's
what
the
this
one
is.
it is. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. So, for those that don't know who you are, may not have heard of you in this tiny little corner of the world, how about you tell people what you do on the internet?
Sure. Oh boy, what do I do on the? So I'm usually sarcastic, and I also try to be informative at the same time. So that's always a duality of me. So podcasting wise, I am the host of Technically PVP. So we do a podcast solely about World of Warcraft player versus player on a every other week schedule, because I and the other co-hosts, Andelin and Winstead, like to have some personal time in game, so we actually have stuff to talk about.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and we actually originally we were doing it under our own brand, but then this year we teamed up with Warcraft Radio. So if you want to find us, you can go over to Warcraft Radio and see us there, as well as all the other great shows that they're doing. So.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we've talked about Warcraft Radio since its re-emergence. To be fair, I think we may have commented on the post when they originally announced the comeback of it, because there was a small. I know there were small bits of controversy from like some original hosts that a lot of their old stuff was going to be rehosted, but I haven't really had a chance to talk to any of the new guys yet. To be fair,
Yeah, but I've been impressed because when I saw, because I know like I'm glad that they brought Ro and his caravan of stuff underneath, and I'm glad that they brought your show on. I mean, I figured it's good stuff that it's reaching a new audience. It's showing them, hey,
Exactly.
There's content out there, and I'm glad that it's bringing good, reliable content to the Twitch medium.
absolutely.
Exactly. And it's kind of all housed underneath that one umbrella, so it kind of becomes a one-stop shop, which is really nice.
Yeah, and like I've seen the people that are like, they've never heard of podcast before, but they've heard of Warcraft Radio and they've heard about what you guys have been doing. It's like, that's cool. I love it.
That's hilarious. How do you not know what a podcast is? But
if you listen to
There are a lot
Warcraft
of people.
Radio,
A lot of people don't know, and they're like, "Oh, okay." But like, if it's on Twitch, Warcraft Radio's
it
got
used to just be like the always omnificent like radio set, like, you know, everybody's heard of Blue Please. Like, it wasn't just a radio show, it was a podcast as well.
Yeah.
You know, oh my god, there was, I'm trying to remember some of the other shows I listened to back on the old Warcraft radio. There's something to do with Nordrasil as well, but I can't remember the name of it. There were loads of good shows.
There was.
It's just,
Yeah.
but yeah, Warcraft radio is a thing, and you can obviously listen to Technically PVP over there as well. Brilliant stuff.
And I'm pretty sure we are the only PvP centric podcast still running.
Which is interesting because no matter where you look, like especially in terms of the higher view bases, especially on Twitch, PvP is high up there. So you would have thought that there would be more PvP focused things.
You'd think that. There's been many attempts, but they've all seemed to eventually just falter and stop trying, I guess.
I
Maybe
guess
I'm just too stubborn.
Maybe. I think that's a big thing about most podcast hosts is that like eventually they become too stubborn to want to give up on something they've worked with.
Yeah, the sunk time fallacy. I mean, it's one of those like you don't want to stop doing it. I mean that's
why we all still play Warcraft after 15 years, isn't it? Because of the sunk time fallacy.
I've had many people, even over the 3 years I've been doing stuff, saying, "Hey, shouldn't you have given up by now on Warcraft?" I'm like, no. I mean, no. I'm still doing it.
We've lost your mic, Gerissar.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what happens when you cough and you mute yourself, and then you.
Then you don't unmute yourself. Yeah, it's fine. What were you saying?
No, you're right though, and I love that part about Warcraft. World of Warcraft is, I mean, 15 years of content, 15 years of stuff being added into it. You can never get bored. The only way you get bored is if you center only on one little piece, and then you burn yourself out on doing that. But there's always stuff to do that I just never get bored of playing the game.
It's fair enough.
But
sorry, no, go ahead, Frazley. What are you going to say? And
it's finding creative ways to talk about it. I mean, finding new ways to, how do I talk about this, or finding new avenues. It's that perspective.
Exactly. If you think about it, so this whole COVID-19 thing, they're still going back to the World of Warcraft plague.
Yeah.
And still using that for doing modeling of where they think or how they think COVID's going to spread.
Yeah, Frazley mentioned last week that some of the doctors are looking back at the research notes that were based off the ZG blood plague as well.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's pretty much everywhere now. I'd say pretty much everywhere. It's even where I am. We did a quick check on like reported cases. It's like 13 reported cases where I live in a community of like 2 million in the city. So
wow.
But it's only out of like it's only 200,000 diagnosed cases. 13 of those are definite out of 2 million people in the city. So
that's actually really low. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're like up to 300 confirmed in Ohio.
Yeah, but I've got to say, like, as a city, your Ohio is as bigger than my little island over here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kingdom.
It's a huge state. I mean, so we're a big demographic of people. But yeah. This is not the coronavirus podcast.
Yes.
It isn't? Oh,
no.
Shoot. Okay.
No CV-19 here. We'll start as we normally start. What have you done this week in the world of Azeroth? And Gerissar, as you're the guest, what have you been up to this week?
Oh boy, putting me right on the spot. Well, let's see here. I'll admit, I've been pretty busy this week, so I haven't put a lot of time into playing other than, posting things on the auction house and trying to earn that gold.
You on the long boy hunt as well?
No. I'm too busy using it to buy tokens so that I don't have to pay to play.
It's fair.
And I'm also I've actually been saving up enough Blizzard bucks that I'm not sure if I'm going to use it to buy Shadowlands or if I'm going to use it for the new Hearthstone expansion. I'm still kind of trying to gauge that one. But
yeah, I'm trying not to get sunk back into the Hearthstone hole, I'll be honest. I did a lot of it when it first came out.
Does Demon Hunters. That's all I gotta say.
That's it. But the bottom of that ladder is all going to be sunk with demon hunters. I think that class looks a little bit overpowered.
Oh yeah. Well, they're overpowered in WoW. Why would they not be overpowered in Hearthstone?
Shh, we're not overpowered. We're easy to use. So, right?
Can I say it that they
are not prepared.
Disgraceful behavior. Have you been up to anything else, sir?
Other than that, I was doing the invasions. I found that if I just hit all the invasions, I usually end up capping out my conquest points. So I'm doing that to get all of the PvP transmog. I haven't actually been focusing on PvP otherwise. I haven't really been doing that. And the other thing I was doing was I dusted off my alt paladin tank and was learning dungeons so I can start getting into doing some mythic pluses, because I actually never got onto that bandwagon. So
I was recording with another podcast yesterday, and we had a bit of a sidestep into talking about it. And to be fair, as someone who's done challenge modes back in Mists and Warlords of Draenor, you know, and now doing Mythic Plus, the changes they've done to Mythic Plus this season, where Titan Forging is gone, best change set aside, because it makes me have a reason to go and do 15s rather than just do a 10 for the week. But I mean, it still stops onto the problem that you're doing the same dungeon over and over, and it's fallen into the same fallacy that raiding is. That's the problem I have with it.
Oh,
I think the easiest change that they could possibly do going to the next Mythic Plus is if you successfully do a key in time, you get a choice of 3 places that you can go, rather than just getting a random key in case you don't want to go to the one dungeon you don't want to do for that week. You have an option of 3 keys to choose from.
I guess the alternative there, or maybe they're thinking on that, is with LFG systems and, you know, guild members, party members, if everybody gets a random key, there's a chance that if it's not one you want, you can always then just group with somebody else to do.
Yeah, but I hate for my steady group of 5 to get 3 siege keys, Atoll Dazar and King's Rest, and then finishing a siege to get Atoll Dazar, King's Rest, or a higher siege key, because it happens, and sometimes the week is just pretty unfair. I'd rather it just give us an option of 3 keys, the group can choose where we want to go, and we'll go if we're in the mood to do more than several.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. I think that's a common complaint that a lot of people on the PvE scene have been saying, is that sometimes you get a key you get a key for a dungeon that is not forgiving with the affixes of the week.
It does feel like you do get keys for dungeons which fall onto the harder dungeons, depending on the affixes. I'll agree with that. It does feel like it sometimes. It's always RNG though, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
Well, I'd at least like to tone down elements of RNG just a little bit. There's too much of it in the game to deal with already.
Really? You don't like having RNG in your RNG for the RNG that you don't like?
No, I'm a simple man with simple pleasures, and some of those simple pleasures is watching Mr. Frazley stream on Twitch doing some Warcraft. What have you been up to this week, my friend, other than dragged into LFRs so that other people can learn how to tank?
That was fun, actually. Sai of Scrubbers the World has been helping teach people how to do stuff. So he's doing a podcast every 2 weeks, and his is on how do you do different gameplay things in WoW. And in Gerissar, if you ever need somebody, I don't know if he's on PvP, but he would be a fun guest to bring on anyway about gameplay. He is fun. And Sai has been doing streams every other week. So yesterday we did a stream where he was learning how to tank, and he brought on Brandon, who's a tank and a raid lead.
Cool. And
I was talking with Sai, and Sai actually says that I'm turning into a raider. So I'm like, I died like 3 or 4 times, but I tried to watch my mechanics. Maybe I'm getting better. I know how to interrupt now. So that's
always key. Interrupts are important.
And then Cap and I this week went into Mythic, not Mythics. That was last week. We went into Horrific Visions this week, and I did 2 or 3 of them.
Ooh.
Got my cloak up to rank 10 now. So
hey,
nice.
5 to go.
and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying like the corrupted mementos. Definitely interrupts help a lot, especially in their visions. And I think an interesting thing Blizzard's doing with the visions, they're teaching raid mechanics in some of these.
They are. I noticed that.
I mean, technically they've been teaching raid mechanics since they upped the dungeons back in Warlords, and they've been teaching you raid mechanics since then.
Yeah, but
I could argue the point that going all the way back to Cataclysm, they've done that since there's like an achievement called Ready for Raiding, and it started in Cataclysm.
Yep. If you really want, though, they've been doing that even from the very beginning, where you had dungeons and there would be some mechanic in a dungeon, or even in a world boss, or some world silver, and you would use that same. You see the same mechanic when you went into the dungeons, and then the same mechanic when you went into the raids. So they've always done that, where they take these little pieces and then you learn it by doing, and then when you get to the raid, you know how to deal with that mechanic.
And that makes sense, because I remember in Legion, when in the Eye of Azara, I got the Ready for Raid achievement because I was able to dodge the different things around the.
Is the reason you think this and have this mindset though because you've not done a lot of raiding though, Fraz?
Well,
and
just
you've done more of it in the last couple of weeks?
To survive a vision, you have to be a little more on top of what's going on, and you kind of have to adapt to different things. You adapt to like what's the strategy of the area. Like,
are you using the DBM module?
I'm using Bigwigs, which is helping a lot.
Bigwigs, it's something, but because the first question I would always ask someone if they're trying to push a vision is, do you have a DBM plugin, and do you have weak auras for like some of the later technology tree stuff?
I don't have weak auras. I should get weak auras at some point.
Weak auras is interesting, especially when you get right into it, and they've enabled bloody GIF pop-ups now for weak auras, so it's disgraceful behavior.
They have GIFs now?
So the way it works is that it will look for a file locally, so you've got to point it to a GIF file on your actual hard drive where you want to pull it from, but it can load a GIF in as a weak aura pop-up for you.
Oh, so I can like load a bunch of Office memes. Oh, okay.
You could very well do the thing where you're if you're leveling your I'm gonna call it Techno Mage because I forget the name, Mechanome. Your Mechanome Mage, and you die in your, what's it called? Oh my god, words! My words escape me tonight. What's the fire mage stuff that keeps you alive after you die?
Cauterize.
Cauterize.
Cauterize, yeah.
Cauterize props. You could have a weak aura set for the Michael going, no, God,
okay,
no!
I'm downloading weak auras now.
Gone. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
I've heard of people using that, and they have it set with gifs of Ian Hazzikostas' head. Same thing.
The thing from Beyond. Yes, I saw that.
Yes. And I mean, I have a few gifs of my own that I could add there too. Because if you go to my Frazley Giphy, there's a few ones
that. There's a Frazley GIF feed now.
Yep, there's a Frazley Giphy with a few ones, and I've been making them as we go on. Like I got one of me being scared and stuff like that. So one of me dancing.
You never cease to amaze me, Frazley.
I feel like every week there's something new that he's just invested time in, and he comes back and he's just set something else up. What else have you been up to this week, Chief?
Other than that, just leveling the Mechanome. So he is now up to 109, about to hit 110. And I was going to stop at 110 with the Order Hall until, for anybody out there, because I've got a Vulpira too that I want to level up. It's a Vulpira Warlock that has been waiting.
To be fair, if you do get it to 110, you do get the heritage for your Mechanome, which is done.
Okay.
And we'll talk about it more. I think the next month is probably just going to be, especially this week, is probably going to be the best time to just keep going and leveling.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. Anything else, Mr. Frazley?
Not really other than that. I mean, just a bunch of playing Among Us. That's not Warcraft, but playing a lot of Among Us where people are like, I want to be the imposter. Oh,
too much. All right, Frazley. Can we let the meme die? It can only work as viral content if I get something off the back of it.
No. I don't think that's how it goes.
For content, funny. You should have caught some of our streams earlier on in the week, but Discord went down and it led to a bit of a boo-boo and everything In terms
You
of
want to
what...
zoom on past that, right?
Yes, I want to zoom on past that. Thank you very much, Frazley. Fucking hell. In terms of what I've been doing, it's nothing much past the normal. Wednesday and Thursday were spent doing the weekly chores, so got the cloak to 15 this week.
Nice.
But it's also brought along the fact that doing horrific visions with your certain masks have allowed you to get item level drops. So I did I did a 5 mask, a 4 mask, and a 3 mask for mementos and getting the item level. One of them turned out it was a decent item level piece.
Nice.
Got a 475 weapon in my weekly box of disappointment. Probably replaced it with the Raden weapon that dropped in the weekly raid this week. So I'm literally done with gear drops from Ny'alotha now. I have no need to run that place except if I want free artifact power. That's it. I'm done with Ny'alotha in heroic. That's it.
So,
no need.
Are you going to stop, or are you going to still keep going because guild and friend reasons?
Judging by the current climate, I think the general thing is we're going to keep going as long as the banter and people want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other things I could concentrate on. I finally got my pet battles across Broken Isles and Zuldazar and Kultiras done.
Wow.
With some of the free time, so in the questing stuff. So I've actually increased my pet capacity to 1,500, which allowed me to buy the other things, so I can actually up it to 2,000 now.
Holy moly. That's a lot of Pokemon.
It's a lot of Pokemon. And I still need the achievement for having 1,000 unique pets. I think I'm missing at least 400 unique versions of pets in the whole game, and I haven't caught everything in Legion and stuff yet. So
Wow.
So
do you go and catch those on your own, or do you go to the auction house to get the really rare stuff sometimes?
No, I go out and catch them.
Okay.
It's weird because I was doing it with an alt because in heirloom gear before we got the buff this week to 100%, and if you do a pet battle with a trainer, you'll get like 20,000 experience. Which it's not bad. It's a nice way to do things, but it takes the time invested in a pet battle is longer than the time invested to do just questing and waiting for a dungeon to pop. So you've got to decide if you want to what you want to do. I remember back in I think it was Mists, and I had BlizzCon weekend open, and I had a nice little leveling spot right next to the farm in the Valley of the Four Winds. Where pets would just respawn really quickly in a little circle, and I just got a warlock to summon me to Pandaria, and I went from 1 to like the level cap. And over BlizzCon weekend, I did about 3 alts just doing pet battles over that weekend.
Nice.
Just leveling pets. It was.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Did you get into using the Alterac Valley Korax Revenge to level your alts?
No. As a person who did Alterac Valley back in vanilla and remembering leaving it to go back into the same instance the next day, no, it wasn't for me. I did it enough to get the mount, and then I GTFO'd out of that. I know a lot of people that did do it a lot. As much as I enjoy doing PvP, it requires a certain mindset. And the last time I had that mindset was in 8.2 with Essences, where I did the rated arenas and I did a lot of PvP for the honor grind and everything else.
Okay.
It wasn't the honor grind for the actual Essence wasn't as bad for rank 3 as I think a lot of people are making it out to be.
Yeah, no, it's not that. Well, I think it depends on which faction you're doing it.
Oh, well, I'm Alliance, so I've got massive queue times over on EU. So shorter queue times, but we lose a lot.
Yes.
So
same over here at NA. It's I think right now we're winning 1 every 6 battlegrounds, give or take a bit.
Well, the Alliance were actually winning Korax Revenge quite a lot.
They were at first.
Yeah, no, that's probably right.
Towards the end, there was a bunch of people that would just AFK, or they would not do the proper mechanics, or there's one.
They just sat in there for the win and just waited for the fail because it was just easy experience to just lose, re-queue because it was faster. Yeah, it definitely has that.
It's faster to just give up and lose and get into the next queue.
I think it's why I eventually turned around and leveled Horde side through Korax Revenge, because it was just easier to get the stuff done.
Yeah,
and just get it out of the way for the mount, because it was obviously you got a different mount for both factions depending, since it was achievement bound and everything else. But yeah, I got two mounts this week. So I'm actually up to, I haven't logged on my paladins, because obviously paladins have got like 1 billion class specific mounts, but on my demon hunter I'm up to 460 unique mounts on one character.
Nice.
So probably add another 3 on for a paladin.
Holy.
So yeah,
Wow.
it's getting there.
That is
I
just
think the next one I'm going to aim for is going to be the Conqueror of Azeroth one, because it's quite an easy one to get.
Conqueror of Azeroth.
So it requires you to do 1,000 honor in each of the main Koltiris and Zandalar zones, so and get that achievement there,
Okay.
which is relatively easy,
Yeah.
because you're sat in war mode anyway.
Yeah.
But it also requires you to kill assassins and loot the bag, I believe,
Ooh.
which is the harder one. But I'm about halfway on that. I don't know how many. I think it's either 10 or 25. I can't remember. But yeah. Other than that, I leveled my dwarf Death Knight with the XP buff and like 3 time walking dungeons from 115 to 120 in the span of about 3 hours. I was actually, like, my plan for this reset with all the changes was going to be take one of my fresh 120 alts and see how long it would take to get through the Nazjatar starter and do all of the 8.3 stuff.
Yep.
And then talk about how that felt going as a freshly geared 120. And I was going to do that without Black Empire gear and with Black Empire gear, but it's just times just escaped me this week because life is just busy.
Yeah. But that would be interesting. I wonder what that would feel, because I know
The main reason I want to do it from this week is because we've got the new essence system that's been obviously implemented as well with the echoes. So I wanted to, because I've done it before, like it's still 3 hours to do 8.3 if you do the full assaults in both zones with the questing as you go. So I know that, but I haven't done it with a fresh ult and more ones that were geared up in 8.2 stuff already.
Yeah.
So there's a slight difference because I'd still be in using like 280 item level cloak and, well, heirloom gear at 280 essentially, because it scales all the way up to 120.
Yeah. Huh. I'm just thinking, because I had a boomkin, and when I went to do the whole opening of the Ny'alotha quest, the 8.3 quest line, I couldn't get through Halls of Origination because my item level was sub 300 and I couldn't survive.
So much harder.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with that.
It was, yeah. I actually gave up and I went and I had to do a bunch of world quests just to increase my item level and get better gear.
Yeah, it's definitely harder for certain classes rather than others. It's absolutely bonkers at times, but yes.
Cool.
That's pretty much my week in a nutshell. Stuff in Warcraft, essentially, as it goes on. Definitely got some goals for the next week to go on and get some stuff done. Leveling is going to be the thing. I'm going to take the next month to really abuse it. Because if you haven't heard, Blizzard have decided to jump onto the train as everybody else with all the goings on around the world. And they've implemented, on top of everything they've done to start the all bonuses from this reset onwards, they have implemented a month-long buff from the 20th of March to the 20th of April, which gives you 100% bonus experience to all gains.
I mean, I had plans for a while what I was going to do, but now I have to make alternative plans.
Shut up. I hate Frazley. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate
Now,
you.
I want to bring up one thing before we get into the alts, because they did something else that I don't want them to get sidelined. They relaxed their essence requirements even further. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
So while you, if you still had the essences unlocked at, you could access them on alts. If you weren't playing a multi-spec class like a paladin or a druid and actually got all the different variants, you weren't able to get like your healing or your tank ones if you'd only got your DPS ones. They've eased up on that with this reset. So now, well, not even this. It was post the reset and like closer to Friday, Saturday, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was just a hot fix.
Yeah, and they've gone around and gone, yeah, if you've already got one version, you can access all of them, which is a fantastic change.
Yeah.
You're still only going to get one rank 3, maybe 2 a week, depending on how much content you want to do on an ult. But it's still, if you want to gear up one ult because you're done on your main, like I'm done on my Demon Hunter, except if I go farming for stuff, then, you can go do that.
So in essence, they're keeping us hooked till Shadowlands.
They're giving us stuff to do, which
Yeah.
isn't a bad thing.
The puns.
I think you could still. I think you could still pick and choose. Like if you're going to focus on changing to an alt for essence grinding, I would possibly say because if you haven't already done the Nashitar entrance quest, you're going to get your heart to 50, which means that you're going to be able to start doing I call it the fireball because I can't remember it, but I would say that the first essence to get would be the Guardian of Azeroth from Eternal Palace for any DPS class, because
Really?
I would normally say Breath of the Dying because the DPS that puts out at rank 3 is disgusting.
Okay.
But if you're going to be switching hard to an ult to do stuff, you're going to get rep with Rajani, and since they've changed that to Revered, that's not going to be a problem at all.
Okay. Huh. I'll
Because
take that in
Guardian
mind. I was just going to use Conflict and Strife, so...
I mean, it's always one to go for afterwards, but if you use Guardian of Azeroth as a straight DPS boost throughout, and if you're going to step into Mythic Plus for whatever gear thing, as long as you do a +7 in time, you'll get rank 2 of your DPS or your tank or your healing essence.
But you need rank 3 to be able to share on alts, right?
You need rank 3 on your main for alts to be able to purchase it, yeah.
Okay.
So, like, my Demon Hunter,
easier.
my main, has everything for tanking and DPS, but now everything is going to be able to access the healing ones as well now. So, hopefully at rank 3, I presume so.
And definitely thank you, Blizzard, for adding in things to make it easier for alts. I feel like they're making it much easier and much. They're compromising with us in ways that we never thought they would, and I thank you for it.
It's really weird because I can't remember if it was this show that I was talking about last week where we were talking about it would be nice if the XP gains for leveling alts for the current expansion happened in the final patch of that expansion rather than waiting for the following expansion to come out.
Yeah.
So they always nerf the experience required per level on a following expansion, but with 100% gain, it's above and beyond that.
Yeah.
I mentioned it in Frazley's Discord as well as a couple of other Warcraft ones I was on.
Okay.
If you look at a time walking dungeon at level 115 to 120, I was in full heirloom gear, which is obviously about 70% boost with a potion on as well, which is an extra 10% as well.
Yeah.
With 100% on top of that, the actual dungeon finder tells you that you'll get 100,000 experience for completing it. On completion, you get 750,000 experience, which is essentially a whole level just for doing one time walking dungeon. And that doesn't include the XP you get for killing the mobs in the dungeon.
Wow.
Like, I did Frazley will be entertained by this. A friend in the guild was deciding to level up a Lightforged Draenei, and I had my next character below this dwarf that I finished leveling was my Gnome Warrior, who's at 58, ready to enter Outland stuff, and is obviously the next one I want to level for Heritage and bits and pieces. So I said, it's fine, I'll join, we'll party sync so I can come and do classic dungeons with you. Yep. And I went from 58 to 62 in doing Wailing Caverns, and we did something. What was the other? Black Fathom Deeps, because we did the quest in there as well. 4 levels in the span of an hour.
Wow,
that's crazy. I was talking to my co-host Winstead, and he has been playing on a warrior in tanking dungeons, and and we party synced up. But he said he went from, I think it was 38 to 102 in a day. Yeah.
A lot of people are. This experience buff is insane because it stacks with heirlooms.
Yeah.
I could work on my Volpira, but I got a Dwarf Priest I want to get up in level.
Ooh.
I'm still going to level the Volpira. I'm still going to, because I love the race and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But that Dwarf Priest.
Just regular dwarf or iron dwarf or dark iron?
You've got both, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got both. I already got a dark iron up to 120.
Oh, okay.
Actually, this is my original OG vanilla dwarf, the one that I rated molten core. I just have not touched it since vanilla. Maybe like 1 or 2 levels in Cataclysm, but
Wow.
I need to get this one up to 120. And I mean, I'm like,
The dwarf armor is still too good, and the heritage the heritage quest for the dwarf is not that bad at all.
oh, Blizzard, why can't you give me too many options? Like, I'm like,
if you don't have time to do Wrath time walking before reset this week, and this will mostly go out for the live crowd because by the time the actual episode goes out, it'll be following reset.
Okay.
There is Cataclysm time walking before the buff goes away.
nice.
Cataclysm dungeons are pretty fast. The only dungeons which are even faster to do in time walking are Mists ones, to be fair, because you can do a Mist dungeon in about 15 minutes.
Yeah. That's crazy. Wow. I totally forgot how much shorter the Mist and Cataclysm dungeons were to some of the other ones.
It's when you get to Warlords is where the dungeons start taking so much longer because everything has such inflated health pools.
Yeah.
Like
The one thing about-
the gear doesn't matter because of the way the scaling works. It's just it's just a little bit insane.
I find the Cata ones have a few mechanics that you need to be on with your group, otherwise you can wipe easier.
No, I mean you're more likely to get the odd death, but I don't think wipes are capable. You'll pretty much be able to out DPS most mechanics in Cataclysm dungeons still,
Okay.
as long as people are actually pressing buttons and not just AFKing.
Well, I mean, but to be fair, you are talking about playing a demon hunter, so you can just cheese pretty much everything.
Look,
there's cheese?
only when I'm doing main stuff. I only do the one time walking, and you know what? It's quite entertaining watching my DPS be so far ahead because I am a demon hunter. You know, I like it. You want to have competition? I have a rogue, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before. I've got a rogue friend in the guild who actually has time walking sets for each set of time walking, and he even went so far as to have both the legendary like the new one at rank 15 and the ones from Mists, and took a picture of them both side to side. And because the original Mist one has a socket and the buff and the proc is a cleave, it was like Raffian did better on his first attempt at legendary cloaks.
Ooh.
Because the stats equal out to the same, but the corruption resistance is the only thing that's going to matter on the new cloak with the corruptions.
Yeah.
And the corruptions don't do as much because your health is so massively scaled down.
Yeah.
So stuff like Twilight Devastation does nothing.
Well, yeah.
Infinite Stars is massively scaled down.
Yeah.
It's
Makes me-
quite like, if it's weird how having on sets, like if you actually have Shadowmourne enchanted and ready to gemmed up and ready to go, you'll probably out DPS people with the fact that you have Shadowmourne. And I don't understand how the way the system works.
So I remember hearing, again, I think it was Winstead talked about on our podcast a little while ago, that the gems don't scale. So if you have a high powered gem, you can go in and jump into these time walkings. And so let's say if it's like plus 40 stat, it's still plus 40 stat.
There's always something wrong with a time walking dungeon. I believe it was during Legion that was it TBC? Because it was Caverns of Time dungeon. Yeah, it was TBC. TBC time walking had come round. I was on my priest during Legion because it was still my main at the time, and they had a passive ability because of the artifact weapon where they could spawn the tentacle which did mind flay.
Yep.
That was not affected by time walking, so a priest would just spam dots on everything in the black morass, spawn a bunch of tentacles, and you'd kill everything in a second because it was doing Legion damage in time walking. TBC. There's always been things where there's something broken somewhere.
Yeah.
I think the first one that came out during 8.3, one corruption or another wasn't tuned down or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was mental. I love the fact that time walking's a thing. But I would just like it all year round and have buffs, or like I've mentioned this before, but have a special buff when it's actually time walking week up.
Yeah.
I'd also like the fact that since everything scales, just keep classic going and then have the TBC and the Wrath dungeons poured into the pool
Okay.
when you get past 60, just because it just allows you to group up with people, you know? Like,
Yeah.
It was quite entertaining being a level 62 warrior and being in Black Fathom Deeps with all of my 60 abilities. That was fun.
Interesting. I don't think that should happen in Classic, really, because the dungeons themselves are part of the lore. They're part of the story. They tell pieces of it. So,
I mean, you could argue that all dungeons tell a piece of the story, but once you've done it once, I mean, soon enough with Shadowlands leveling, we're going to get to a point where the game is going to be able to tell you that and segregate you based on what content you've done before. Because if you haven't done BFA, that's going to have to be your priority thing to level through, so you're caught up to the story, and then you can choose other stuff, as well as the starting area as well. So the game's going to get to a point, and it can segregate you to those dungeons if it wants to. But I think it's more of a variety thing. Like when I'm in the mood to do time walking dungeons, I'm only ever going to see the 5 time walking dungeons, because there's only 5 per expansion in the pool.
yeah.
But if I don't want to get pigeonholed into like the 10 or the 12 dungeons if I'm just going to level spam, dungeon spam through leveling, because that's what I do, because I can't be bothered to quest because I've done it all several times over, you know?
I think you might have a problem with alts.
I have 16 at 120 right now.
And Pete,
I'm not going to tell him, Frazley. I'm not going to keep saying it every time we talk about alts on this channel. It's
okay,
fine.
okay. We have a deal that
So, okay, fine. I'll tell the story. Ultraxian still eludes me, and I'm still running Dragon Soul.
Oh,
There is a
too.
bet with Mr. Frazley that if I do 18 Dragon Soul runs, 18 with max level characters in the same reset, and Ultraxian still doesn't drop, he'll buy me a pizza.
that's a valid bet. It's a valid deal.
I think I'll win it because Ultraxian is just a stubborn pain in the ass.
and I mean, or else this bet will just drag on forever.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to have 18 characters to at least spam Dragon Soul with.
I have 16 at 120, and I have a Tauren Paladin at 110. So it's close to doable. If I can get one more up, I could quite easily do it.
So Blizzard, can you please hotfix in old mountain drop rates?
Because Frazley doesn't want to have to buy a pizza.
Yeah.
That's it, isn't it?
I mean, it'd be cool by the time I send it over to you. No.
Yeah. So here's the big question that I want to talk about. With all the changes that they've done to horrifics, to essences this week, and now the XP buff, yes, even though that's only in for a month, how do you guys feel in the game that they've just done this massive pivot to get people being in the game more and on other characters other than the main?
I really enjoyed when they made the change for the essences. There was a great post up there on the forums, and I think it went so far into actually being part of the hot fixes, but it really explained their reasoning behind the pivot. And in anything, it sounds like it's an institutional change of thinking that they're having, where before they're always saying, each character is its own story, and so therefore, every character does its own thing, and so they were very picky on what became bind on account, right? What can be shared across the account. It sounds like they've had quite a number of discussions and a lot of talking and thinking that has now resulted in them shifting that into realizing that yes, we have individual characters, but it's still that one person behind the keyboard.
Yeah. And
I think we're going to see, definitely into Shadowlands, a much more forgiving, alt-friendly expansion if they maintain this.
I think while the conversation would still have been there, regardless of whether essences were a thing or not, this expansion, I don't think it would be so in Blizzard's face if Legion wasn't as alt friendly and was more pushing towards alts because of seeing the stories of class halls. I think if that wasn't a thing that happened in Legion, I don't think the conversation would have been so in people's face, because everybody had 110 characters to see. Like, I've got the feat of strength, the achievement for doing all of the class hall stories. I'm sure many people have.
Yeah.
You know, I've got all of the artifact mage tower appearances, like, unlocked on all the characters. Like,
That's amazing. I didn't push so hard to do all that. But I was pretty casual with that. The class order halls, I think, because the storyline in each order hall also added to the overall story, I think that really did help push people to have that. And I think you're right, that was definitely a more of an alt push to have people do that. I would say Legion was less alt friendly just because of the legendary systems.
yeah,
and
I'd agree with that.
and that, not having that one legendary that, added an extra 15% DPS boost was damaging, just as an example.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, is there was a hard pivot that happened between Legion to BFA, and it feels like this is going to be another hard pivot back into Shadowlands.
I think the way that they're going to get you to do alts, and the big push to get people to play alts in Shadowlands, is going to be the Covenant stories. Like, because obviously the main idea of Shadowlands is we level through each zone, integrate with each of the Covenants, see what their abilities are, and then we pick one.
Yeah.
Obviously the end game is going to be the story of that, and they'll obviously, I assume, just be like the class halls in Legion, where there'll be a story which will either end per patch and we'll get a new story per patch which revolves around the big story, and that'll be how they'll tell the story of Covenants, which means, yeah, do I want to level another 3 Demon Hunters so that I've got the best Covenant ability? Maybe. Do I just want to level alts just to experience the Covenant story? Probably going to be the better choice.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's going to be the thing. And with only 4, who knows? That might be a little bit easier. But then, if we take how many classes are in the game now? 14.
Oh, I think
It's 12 to 14. Warrior. I'm gonna go for it. And you'll have to let me know if I miss anything.
Okay.
Priest, warrior, rogue, mage, hunter. I'm gonna go by armor class. Actually, it's easier. Priest, mage, warlock.
Yep.
Rogue, druid, monk.
Yep.
Hunter, shaman. And
Demon
bloody
Hunter.
hell, demon hunter, and then warrior, paladin, death knight. 12.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's 12 class hall stories. So people who investigated at least all of that are going to have at least 12 alts. Some of they're going to have leveled those up. And then you've got what people had in Mists and technically BFA, where they're going to have at least one Horde ult, because there was the achievement for doing both the stories. Like the side faction stories for Horde and both Mists and BFA.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have cross-factional stuff as well. So maybe 13 characters at a push, and people, and then you've got to put in the fact that we've had, in terms of experience boost, we've had Korax Revenge and now this event as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm already at 16, which is pushing it, but there are people, who is that absolute, is it Mephisto, who's got like 44 warriors?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And some of that, he's been doing that for his charity event that he does in April. But yeah, he is definitely like,
Yep.
I mean, I think the king of warriors. I don't know how he does it.
Like
He just loves warriors.
He's only going to have 6 more, isn't he? Because that's it for the cap, unless he wants to pick up another account.
Yes, he's actually noted that, and he made a tweet to Blizzard asking them to raise the limit.
Cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with them. I mean, I could see maybe there's like a database issue with the limit. I mean, because Final Fantasy 14, you can only raise your retainer and your account limit by paying them because of the database cost. But and maybe that's why Blizzard did it.
Most other MMOs do require you to pay for more than one character slot. But you got to remember, like stuff like Final Fantasy is a very different beast where you can have every class leveled on one character.
Yeah.
And then you can have all of that. Whereas this is everything is held separately. You know, like
Yeah. Anyway,
maybe I think 50 is quite generous if you look at other MMOs on the market,
Yeah.
and then maybe that's at the point where they turn around and go do a one-off fee for another 10 or something. It will probably have people up in arms, but it would be. I don't see why not having a paid thing at that point as a one-off payment. You know, I'm not saying it has to be extortionate, but you know that's the kind of paid service I can get behind.
I question the need for it though. I mean, 50 characters, that's huge. I have some characters I could easily delete. Like I have a mage that is still from Kata days that I think I leveled into mop and then has been sitting there ever since because I haven't touched it.
I mean, my goal at this point is, and this isn't going to obviously be over the next month, this is going to be like an account goal, is to have one of every class at max level, let alone, but then one of every race because heritage armors are now a thing.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's not going to come to 50, and until there are 50 races in the game, which I don't think we'll ever get to, there's 11 plus 4 allied races on either side right now.
Yeah, I think 4.
Yeah, so we're at 19.
Yeah.
That's half of your level cap, let alone. Now, obviously, I'm lame, and back when I was making all of my characters for alts, I have characters based on the ones I like to look at, rather than the ones which are more factionally appropriate, like gnomes and dwarves. So,
Now,
do you have a mailbox tune?
no.
Okay.
I don't have a mailbox tune. I don't have a bank tune.
yeah, I'm the same way because I get why it's good, and like if I did TS Sim, it might be good, but I kind of, I mean, my main's kind of the one that I put a lot of stuff on, but I try to move things through it pretty fast.
It's when there's stuff that, like, even, oh my god, LVUI is able to track all of the gold that you have on like an account spread over all of your characters by
really?
just hovering over it.
Yeah.
I use Alcoholic for that.
I need
Yeah,
to
a lot of
reinstall
people
that.
do. Like, Alcoholics is an old add-on that's been updated through all the ages. Like, it's like a lot of people use it. I don't worry about any of that. Like, I've only recently just installed TSM because Frazley's camera has shifted into the void.
I just noticed that too. That's interesting.
Yeah, but LVUI tracks gold across like an entire account, essentially. But because I don't log in my Horde tunes as much, I can see that I've got like shy of 1 million gold on my main alliance shard.
Yep.
And you know, I just do the farm on my demon hunter, and you know, if I want to push high legion raids to do farming, then I'd need to get the gear on the other characters, which is a lot of time investment. This is why I wanted to do the experiment this week.
Well, it isn't. Sorry. I just want to say it's not a lot of time investment because of the that BOA gear that can drop out of the visions and out of the zones.
Is the gear that drop in Vision BOA? I thought it was just specific to the character.
No, because I've been playing on, like, if I'm playing on my Warlock, I've had BOA.
Oh, do you mean the Black Empire gear?
Oh, the Black Empire, yeah, that stuff that drops. So I mean, between that and some of the other stuff, you can totally gear out another tune.
I mean, I think it's my Death Knight is probably the best example because it's got a cloak at like level 6, and I think it's got a mishmash of gear, and I think its average item level is about 438, which is about entry level, which isn't bad. It's what any main character would have started roughly at the beginning of this patch. So it's without, like, my Demon Hunter, who's now done in Heroic Ny'alotha, is about, I think, roughly about 473.
Okay, sounds about right.
So it's a massive jump. It obviously depends on the content you do, and if you're able to push 15s on any character to the point where, like, if you get a good Mythic Plus week and you do 20 in a week, and you get lucky with loot, and you run a mostly plate set, and you just share loot between you depending on what you want, you can quite easily get up there if you want to push it.
Oh, exactly.
But it's just a matter, do I want to do time investment and do that and have an army of 470s when it's just going to get removed in 7-8 months, or just get stuff up, enjoy the content that's there? Because I feel like unless WoW is your bread and butter, like you're streaming on Twitch for 8+ hours a day, and you get paid for doing that as a job, then you've got no real need to really. I'm knocking shit over. And you've got no real need to have it at that degree. And you should just do it at a level that you enjoy.
Yeah, like I'm basically playing WoW like 2 to 3 days a week. I mean, maybe like 3 to 4 hours a night playing it, but I don't feel like I'm burning out. I don't feel like I'm rushing through it. I don't know how people do it 8 hours a day, and I mean, like,
Yeah, me neither.
that would drive me nuts. And I know
People
I
look
don't.
at it in different ways. You've got to look at it like people enjoy PvP to an extent that they won't do anything else in WoW other than having to level at the beginning of an expansion, and they'll just sit in PvP because of the way the gearing system works, that they don't have to do anything else. You know?
No.
No?
No.
Does the gearing system not work through PvP, that you can actually gear yourself up just in PvP now?
You can, but the gear, the way the stats weights are right now, it's not the most ideal for classes. So the best gear is still found through PvE.
So you would have to really push Mythic Plus to get decent gear.
Yeah. So if you actually look at the top PvP players that are streaming daily, you'll see that they are running Heroic and Mythic Ny'alotha. They're running Mythic 15s. They're running a whole bunch of other stuff just to get the gear, to get the stat weights that they need to maximize, to min-max.
I mean, I was under the impression that because of how the PvP disparity worked, and there was only going to be small percentages between a 410 and like a 470, that the only real difference would be the corruption procs and everything else, and that was the real problem in PvP this season.
So there is the background scaling that nobody really has the numbers for, and there is some normalizing that happens there, but it comes down, I mean, I can PvP and I can get some good gear, depending on but the gear you get, the item level, is also based on your rating and where you are in the brackets. So
the arena, yeah. I
rated
forget
PvP,
that.
yeah. And if you're just doing regular, like, random BGs and stuff like that, I think you're getting like 370, maybe 380, something like that. It's not that great. So again,
that's really bad. It would be nice if there was. I feel.
I think it's 380.
Is the problem there because the system that they've tried to put in, because Mythic Plus is easy, because your box for Mythic Plus is just based on what Mythic Plus you can run.
Yep.
And like, even if you don't do it in 15 plus in time, you're still going to get a 475 bit of gear. Yep. But I presume because unless you go ham in arena, then I managed to get to at least, is it 1400 is really the one where it starts dropping thing? I can't remember. It's been a while.
What do you mean?
I think your rating starts decaying once you hit combatant at 1400.
Yeah, I think once you get to 1400, then you can actually start losing rating if you go above that, and you lose. Yeah. But that's pretty hard. Really... You actually have to try to lose to do that. Yeah. or get the really unfortunate where you go into a pretty high,
I guess the question is, how do you fix that so it's fair on both sides? Like, there's a PvP level of content that you can do that's equal to Mythic Plus without having to up a rating to get a bit of gear.
Oh, geez, that's a Pandora's box right there.
I mean, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. At least you would have an idea of what to do is kind of where I'm getting at, because as someone who doesn't PvP a lot and hasn't PvP properly for a very long time, I wouldn't know how to even think about how to do that with the way the current system works.
Yeah, it's so. I think there's a couple things there. So right now, with the way it currently is, you do PvP, you get gear. The higher rating you get, the higher the item level of the gear that you're getting. And there's also your weekly chest, which is almost always a little bit higher item level. But again, that's based off of the rating bracket you're in, and you have to win at least one game into that bracket to earn that chest.
But it's just the chest that's affected by the rating level. Like the rewards you get for your 500 conquest in a week, that's not the item level on those rewards isn't determined by the rating that you currently have, is it?
Not that I'm aware of, no, because that's kind of,
because that's still 445, isn't it?
Yeah.
For this season.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Would that not be the better option to do? Maybe have having it based on rating. I get it, is a way that they want to have rated PvP, but they're just, I mean, for a start, if they want to split up PvP and PvE, the abilities have to be solely different in both sections originally, and they're not going to do that.
Never.
I feel like there just needs to be a way that the game can adhere and doesn't feel quite so unfair.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be PvPers that don't want to PvE and vice versa.
Yeah.
But it feels like the PvEers are accounted for. Like, they just have to run a thing and not get it in time.
And
a PvPer can't run a rated arena can't choose to go into a rated arena at X level because they still need the rating to be able to get the thing. They can't join a high rated team because that's not how it works, is it?
I mean, you can if you pay gold.
And tokens.
I thought that you still needed to make a team and achieve a rating with that team. Like, there wasn't swap in and swap outs anymore.
No, the PvP, the rating is to character. So they do a matchmaking in the background where if I'm 2000 and you're 1800 and Frazley 1600, then it will create a matchmaking rating based off of kind of a mix mash of that. And that is also sometimes inflated depending like who's on the ladder at the time and stuff like that. Like I've run into doing rated battlegrounds where I am doing, we're sitting around 1700 MMR or 1700 CR kind of thing, and run into 2000 plus CR teams. It hurts.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, that's just grab the barrel, just get it over with.
That's it, isn't it?
It's
cool. I mean, he put you at 1600, Frazley. That's not the lowest ranking. The lowest ranking is 1000.
I know. I loved how you were, because out of all the three of us, I would have the lowest ranking, and I'm like, you know me so well.
I feel like you'd walk into a rated PvP arena, they'd look at you, and you'd go, ugh. You'd just fall over.
Wilhelm.
Only if he's playing as Hunter, he fat fingers feign death.
Okay, yes.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah, I think we're coming up to our allotted time for today.
I do have one final.
Sure.
Just to bring up
as long as there are no puns involved.
No, this says no puns. And in fact, but one of my friends DM'd me about a slight controversy to this whole XP boost, and I just wanted to see your thought on it.
Okay.
They were saying that Blizzard is cashing in on the pandemic that we're having, and that it's almost vile.
Yeah, I saw this on Reddit.
What?
Let me put it this way, Frazley. If somebody's already playing, they've already paid their sub for the month, and they're getting this in. It's the same reasoning of saying dumping a mount with a 6-month sub is forcing people to buy a 6-month sub, when people who get it because they're already paying the 6-month sub, they get it. It's like saying, oh, they're cashing on 6 months. People generally pay 6 months because it's not super expensive and it works out with the payment plan that they're doing.
Yeah.
Look at most other online games, and you will generally find that someone in some way has done something to fashion. You can say it's cashing in on it. Hell, you could turn around and say that Blizzard, with all this change to essences and the way horrifics work and everything else, is trying to cash in and get goodwill with how bad BFA has been. And it's not the case, you know? I mean, it's just with everything else. I would say go and have a look at the Reddit and read some of the comments on the WoW Reddit, because there are people who have turned around and been like, well, I've had to self-quarantine. You know, the 100% boost sounds like a good way to do it. It's a shame that I can't afford to play. There are people on NA and EU specifically feeling bad for people who can't play and, you know, buying an odd WoW token for these people.
That's amazing.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
you could say it's Blizzard, it's cashing in. I don't give a fucking dare. You know, I'm paying for the game anyway. It's an added benefit.
So-
I'd like for this to be more of it, but what were you going to say?
This pisses me off. This is people so often finding ways to they're angry about something, and they're always finding ways to be angry at Blizzard. I don't know why. It consistently happens regardless of anything Blizzard does. Blizzard, yeah, sure. Okay, so they put in a boost so that people who are playing the game, if, you know, in case they're getting burned out because they've run all the Ny'alotha they can stand, they've run all the PvP they can stand, they've done all the pet battles that they can stand, and the idea of having playing an alt is just onerous to them. Okay, cool. Nothing makes people do that.
No.
Right? And anybody that sits back and tries to say that Blizzard is cashing in on COVID by making people sub to play, it's bullshit. No, they're not. They're offering something, but they're not making anybody do anything.
Exactly.
Those are the same people that probably stand outside of a donut shop and get mad at the donut shop for offering tasty donuts because they can't help themselves and not eat the tasty donuts.
I'm one of those. I stand outside that same donut shop just down the street because it's always, I walk by it every single time and it's like, hey, come in, you can buy a big bucket of donuts. Like, no, you're just trying to get me to go in there.
Yeah, you're just trying to make me fat.
Yeah, exactly.
How dare you make me fat? Damn donut shop.
Yeah, it's not the fact that I like food; it's that damn donut shop.
Exactly.
I mean, while it has brought me in now for, another month now, even more. It's like, I'm not going to want to not do alts this month.
I think that's generally the feeling, is that the next month or so is going to be the best time to do alts, and I think people are going to shift their priorities a little bit to make the best use of it, and rightfully so. It's there. It's just the same as when time walking rolls around. I shift my priorities to level an alt because time walking is the best way to level an alt.
Yeah, and I like how you talk about like the timing. Right now, delivery services are waiving their delivery fee, and we're buying more delivery. And I mean, that could be cashing in, or it could be helping someone. And I did like what one commenter said: by us subbing to WoW, we are actually helping Blizzard keep somebody employed. Whereas, or if not, then Blizzard would have to lay people off.
It's just a silly way to look at things. Like, no one should take goodwill or a decision of a company and see how it affects them personally. And again, it's something that I've said time and again on this cast once I've started it, is that because I talk with Frazley, I look at the way the game is played at a different level from different people, and no longer in the way that the game caters to me specifically, because it's played at different levels. And you shouldn't look at, just because Warcraft or PUBG or something else might be your favorite game, your favorite game might be Fortnite, it might be Minecraft, and you don't agree with the decision of a developer of that game. That's fine, but you sometimes need to look at not how that developer is impacting you personally. They haven't gone into your data and gone, Frazley, this guy really likes going to the Nether, but I'm going to make this Minecraft change, which really changes how the way the Nether works. He's going to have to relearn it. They haven't picked on Frazley in particular.
Well, I mean, Satisfactory picked on me because we had this amazing level with Spaz, and now we got to redo the whole thing because they've added water and fluids and stuff like that. I mean, Coffee Stain Studios, you've made it where I'm going to go back in again and redo all the stuff.
Yeah,
It was all about Frazley.
That's it. It's it. Satisfactory is screwed Frazley regardless. But you shouldn't look at your favorite game whenever a dev makes a change and see how it impacts you, but how it looks at the game in general. Yeah. Like, what has this 100% boost done? It has got people playing more than just their main character, because it's giving people a chance. People have moaned about alts all expansion, how bad it is. You now have that option, especially with all the changes to the game, to play your alts, enjoy your alts, and do everything else, and use them to the same level of content as a main. Could it have been done better? Sure. You know, we're all going to say what Blizzard could do better from the mind of a player, but again, those concerns are what we would want them to do. And we're not thinking of it from a developer point of view. And a developer is going to look at the game as a whole and not from what they want.
Now, let's be honest. Is the game developer is going to make the game as fun as they can? Because ultimately, the business model is having people spend money to play the game that's fun. So in that way, did they make a decision corporately that will allow for them to have more players paying to play the game? Arguable. Like I said, just because it's available doesn't mean people have to sub. That's their own choices. But you do have to admit that regardless of any game that is developed to, at the end of the day, make a profit for a business model.
Absolutely.
So
that's it. I mean, we're paying customers at the end of the day. Yes, we're gamers, and yes, the current environment with how everything going might make us feel a little bit entitled towards specific things. But at the end of the day, it's a decent change, and it's with how the game has literally changed in the last 2 weeks. This is a good thing for the next month, and enjoy it while you can, and don't shit on Blizzard for the fact that they've decided to make a change which benefits the player base as a whole rather than just you individually.
And I know corporately changing stuff to be remote working, there's probably a lot of costs that they were incurred. And they probably, because I saw people calling for give everybody a free month, but I'm like, could not have worked financially.
No.
But so this is at least to me a good. We'll meet in the middle.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway.
And
enough of that.
All the heroes are free for the next month too. And Heroes of the Storm. So see,
yes, they are.
There is free stuff.
What game is that?
It's Blizzard's MOBA thing. Yeah,
I see what you did there.
It's good. I missed it because I'm done. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Stories Around Azeroth. Gerissar, where can they find you around the internet if they want to look for you?
If you want to find me, just Google Technically PVP and you'll find us. We're on your app of choice. You'll find us, our subtle audio tones on many of those applications. And as well, please do check out the Warcraft radio site. There is a plethora of other shows talking about World of Warcraft, and many other games under the Blizzard sphere. So
there we go. We'll try to make sure all that information is in the podcast information for you to go and check out as well. Mr. Frazley, they probably know where they can find you around the internet since you're literally everywhere. But for those people that might not know yet, where can they find you? On
Twitter, doing puns and different things at Frazley-tastic. And if you want even more puns, DM me about my Facebook. And you can find me talking to people every week at gnome.podcast.com, Frazzlecast. I talk with different people. I've talked with Gerissar. I've talked with Pete. And I got even more people lined up to talk with. And then if you want shenanigans every week, well, actually almost every day now. I mean, I kind of turned to everyday streamer. It's every day, yo.
Wow. Streamers, am I right?
What?
Streamers, am I right?
I know, streamers. You can find that at gnome.live. I know, streaming. Why would anybody want to watch somebody play a game?
Who knows, eh? Or talk about random games they like.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at Titan's Creed on my main one, at Gaming Phoenix on my right, on my alt one, if you literally just want videos and streaming information. Otherwise, you can find streams like the podcast live, or you can join me for gaming and bits and pieces on twitch.tv/Project Phoenix Productions, or you can find VODs over on youtube.com/Project Phoenix Productions. And Stories Around Azeroth will be in your podcast catchers as normal every Wednesday.
Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much to our special guest, Gerissar of Technically PVP. And as Mr. Frazley always likes to say,
Be awesome.